for Forex. He's here to give you exactly what you need. He has 100% of the information. He's having a lot of fun, and he's helping a lot of people while doing so. So it brings me great pleasure to turn this call over to none other than Dr. Craig Bythewood. Dr. Bythewood, are you on the call?
Yes, I am, Ms. Dyer. Thank you very much for introducing me. Thank you once again for a stellar training. And I would like to welcome everyone to a talk with the finance doctor, your RX for Forex, where we get the opportunity to discuss what I Am Academy brings to the table. We get the opportunity to discuss what the Be Your Own Bank movement brings to the table. We get the opportunity to discuss what you bring to the table, because to me, the one piece that is so critical to what we do as a unit, as a sub-movement, as an organization, is to have the right mindset. You know, there's an African proverb that says, any event not begun without the mention of God is maimed. So if you think about it, every single trading call, every single time in which we trade live, the first thing that Ms. Dyer does is make you say, I am a master trader, all of my trades end in profit. Wait a minute. What does that have to do with God? It has everything to do with God. Because one way of looking at it is, God is love. And when you do an affirmation, you are affirming yourself. The great I am. I am a master trader. So every time you speak that, you speak life into your situation. You speak life into your existence. You speak life into your trades. So it's so important that we recognize that we literally are a movement that's based on training people how to love yourself. Because you have to love yourself first in order for you to take on the project of learning a $6.6 trillion a day industry. You have to love yourself in order to feel comfortable watching the next video in the I Am Academy. You have to love yourself in order to be able to decide that you're going to go from demo to live. You have to love yourself in order to go through the process of going into I Am Center and seeing all of the wonderful options and resources that there are. Literally, you could start doing a resource once a day. And a year from now, you'll still find another resource. Number one, because there's so many. But number two, but because we're very fortunate that we are in a very, very cutting edge company. When I think about the 18 months we've been in this business, it's a new company, of course, but it's really been 5 or 6 new companies, because we work for an organization that's constantly reinventing yourself. Now, we are with an organization that constantly reinvents themselves. If you know anything about science, you know that your body changes its molecular structure daily. I went to a Bob Proctor event, and Bob Proctor said, Bob Proctor is a spiritual advisor, life coach, so to speak. And he said he also was the keynote speaker at the last I Am Academy conference. And he said, I will not be at the next event. The next event I'm having, I won't be there. And everybody was like, oh, you know, why would we go to a Bob Proctor event if Bob Proctor is not there? And he responded by saying, I won't be there because Bob Proctor will be different. I will have changed. I will have shifted. So the same way in which we change on a molecular level, we need to understand that we're always changing on a mindset level. We're always changing on an emotional level. We're always changing on a spiritual level. So I just really love the opportunity to remind you of what you already know. And that is that you are wonderfully made, you are wonderfully created, and it matters what you say on the other side of the I am. I am a master trader. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Miss Dyer said something real powerful to me lately. She did something really powerful. She said, that is why we are training you to become a master trader. And the moment it came out of her mouth, she shifted it. And she said, well, actually, you already are a master trader. So in that moment, she recognized the power of the I am. When you say I will become, when you say I will be, energetically, brainically, what you're telling to yourself is it's out in the future. And sometimes we keep things out in the future because we keep talking about what's going to be, what's going to be, what's going. Of course, our mind's in the right place, our goals in the right place. But you have to realize the power of now. There's a book on my shelf right now by Eckhart Tolle, and it's called The Power of Now. So by declaring that you are a master trader right now, guess what you just did? You just sped up the timeline. You just put yourself in a position to be able to get there faster. So I'm assistant coach at a girls basketball for the local high school, Wharton High School. And the other day I was at practice, and what we do when practice is over is that we stay there as coaches until all the girls get picked up. So when some of the girls were getting picked up, there were some track people who were doing conditioning, and they were waiting on what's called the activity bus. So long story short, one of the young ladies that I saw there is one of my youngest daughter's friends. Her name is Serenity. Love that name. So I said, hey, Serenity, how are you doing? And she said, I'm fine, Dr. Craig. And I said, what event are you running? And she said, I'm running the 100 and the 200. Then her friend was standing next to her, and I recognized something that I know you all recognize. People want to feel included. So I don't know the other young lady, but I wanted her to feel like I wanted to show her love too. So I said, what's your friend's name? She told me, and then I said, what event do you run? And she said, I run the 800-yard dash. Immediately, I started going like this. Because just the thought of running 800 yards, 800 meters, instead of 100 meters was a big deal for me. Now, two different young ladies standing there with two different body types, as you could imagine, because the girl that runs the 100 looks different than the girl that runs the 800. But I said all that to say this. When you're running this race, when you're making this decision to run for your abundance, when you're making your decision to become and be a master trader, when you're making your decision to participate in the I Am Academy every single day, going on the trading calls as a supplement to you getting utilizing the educational platform, how fast and how far do you want to run? Do you want it to take as long as it does to take a 100-yard dash? Or do you want to take the 800? Now, I know I'm not the only one that's ever supported somebody watching the 800. It's a long, boring race. You got to sit there and wait. And, oh, shoot, that's only one lap. And then you wait for the second lap. So all I'm saying is this. When you walk in the power of now, when you make a decision to speak in now, when you make a decision to care what happens after I am, when you make that decision, you just changed your goals and your desires and your outcome and your results from the 800 to the 100. Keep talking about, oh, I've got to work on it. Keep talking about, oh, well, I'll get there. Oh, keep talking about, oh, this is the first time I've done this. Oh, I've never done this before. All you're doing is making it be the 800. Make it be the 100. Shoot, make it be the 40-yard dash. You can literally get there faster. You can literally collapse time frames by walking in a spirit of I am. I am a master trader. All of my trades end in profit. And I wonder, since you all say it and you all are very good at it, I wonder how many other areas of our life, even though we mastered the ability to be 100-yard dashy in our trading. I wonder how many other areas of our life where we may be going a little bit slow, we may be running way too many laps. We may have some very heavy energy. And I say that because I want you to recognize a truth. How you do one thing is how you do all things. How you do one thing is how you do all things. I remember about a month ago, I was doing a talk with the finance doctor. This is before I went to Vietnam. And I can see myself in my rectangle. My rectangle has a view to it. So I can see my little decorations, and I can see my clock, and I can see my background. Well, this particular day, or this particular evening, when I was doing the talk with the finance doctor, I just came back from a trip. And because I had just come back from a trip, my house was in disarray. So I'm speaking to you, and I'm seeing this beautiful background, but it really didn't matter because there was clutter all around me. And the clutter all around me was part of me. So even though this little picture looks really good, as soon as I clicked the leave button on the Zoom room, I cleaned up everything. I probably stayed up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning because I understand how abundance works. And abundance is something that flows. And picture you having something flow through a water hose. If you have something flowing through a water hose and then you put a kink in that water hose, guess what's going to happen to the flow? You're either going to stop it or slow it down. So I knew that I was not walking my talk by having this pretty background in the back, but everything else was cluttered. So I'm saying all that to say this. What are you saying on the other side of your I am? So you may be saying, I am a master trader, but the other areas, the other part, okay, your trading is your rectangle. But what about the rest of the house? What's going on with the rest of your life? Henry Ford was a great man. Henry Ford was the person who, rather than inventing cars, what he invented was the assembly line concept of cars, which really made cars affordable. When cars first came out, only the very, very wealthy could afford them. And so what Henry Ford did was he created an assembly line which allowed us to produce them quicker, which allowed the prices to go down drastically, and it allowed the average person to be able to buy a car. So right now, if you have a car, you can thank Henry Ford for the ability. What if you have multiple cars? There are 2 cars in my driveway. So the blessing of that is something that happened for Henry Ford. I said all that to say this. Henry Ford was known as being one of the first millionaires, but he was also known for being very, very adept at spiritual laws. He understood the universal laws, he understood the way the universe worked, and he operated within those laws. So Henry Ford said, whether we believe we can or whether we believe we can't, we will be right. So I say all that just to suggest this. What are you doing? What are you saying? What are you affirming in the other areas of your life outside of trading? Because how you do one thing is how you do all things. So I may look good in this rectangle, but if the rest of the house is in clutter, it affects my ability to be able to touch 1 million families. So I'm asking you to really think about other areas in your life where you can affirm your greatness. You can affirm your worth. What are you saying on the other side of your I ams in other areas? Let me give you another example. I want you to be familiar with the word quanta. 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 T as in Tom. Quanta. Quanta. Quanta is a concept, a scientific concept that measures the vibration of light as it travels. The vibration of light as it travels. Now, 25 years ago, we thought that the smallest mechanism in our world was the atom. The atom. Remember, we studied it in science. We broke down the nucleus and the electrons and all that scientific stuff, and we were told that the atom was the smallest way of looking at the world. Then all of a sudden, we started putting that prefix instead of atom, and we started talking about subatomic. So we realized that there are actual particles that are even smaller than the atom. And if you know what I'm talking about, you're a nerd just like me. So quanta is a subatomic level of looking at the way in which light travels. The first part of the Bible, the first thing the Bible says is there was darkness. And then there was light. And then there was light. So light is the first concept that's really talked about in the Word. So studying quanta, the way in which the vibration of light goes from one spot to another, the way light travels, is important for a variety of reasons. Well, individuals that study quanta are called quantum physicists. The study of those who study quanta is called quantum physics. Well, 15 years ago, quantum physicists came up with a startling discovery. What do scientists do? They put on the white coats, they put the microscope up, and they put stuff on the microscope and they study it. Then when they finish studying it, they go to their little journals and they record the results. That's science. That's what you do when you work in a lab. Cool. May not be the role for me, but I get that. That's important. Many discoveries come from the dudes in lab coats, the dudes and dudettes in lab coats who study. Well, quantum physicists were studying particles on a microscope. And what they did, be your own bakers, is they took the particles, they put them on the microscope, and they studied them. Then based on what they saw on the microscope, they wrote in their little journals. Now, somebody came up with the great idea. Hey, what if we kept filming what was happening on the microscope after we left? So they said, cool, let's just put a 24-hour timer on the camera and let's just watch the microscope. So what they found when they watched the microscope over a 24-hour period changed the way we view the world. They realized that whatever they put on the microscope, when they were looking at it, it was there. But the moment they walked away from the microscope, the particle wasn't there anymore. Look at the particle, there it is. Walk away from the particle, it's gone. Look at the particle, it's there. Walk away from the particle, it's not there. So this discovery, this subatomic basic building block of our universe discovery is something we can pull a wonderful principle for. Whatever you focus on will be there. Whatever you focus on will be there. BYOBers, what are you putting on your microscope? Are you putting I ams on your microscope? Are you putting affirmations? Or maybe you putting on your microscope what you can't do, what you don't do, what you haven't done, what you don't want, what you're not interested in, what you hate. Because the way in which we have analyzed and discovered the way the quantum level works, whatever we give energy to will appear, and vice versa. So a lot of times we justify our ability to be able to do whatever it is we're doing by talking about how hard it is, by talking about how difficult it is, by talking about all the things we don't. And it's very subtle. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing it. So Miss Dyer does a training call and she says, let me see the affirmation. Let me hear you say it. I am a master trader. All of my trades end in profit. What are you saying for the rest of the 58 minutes? What are you saying to yourself for the rest of the time? You're doing a really good job trading. You're cashing out. You're putting everything into it. You're doing well. What are you doing and what are you saying in the hours outside of the trading calls, outside of the Power Pack Tuesday, outside of the Power Pack Thursday? So what I'm really asking you to do is to be deliberate. Be deliberate about recognizing the fact that just like that particle only appears when it's looked at, just like that particle is only there when the scientists focus on it, the same thing is happening with your life. Whatever you're focusing on, whatever you're giving energy to, whatever you're putting on your microscope, that is what is there. So let me share with you how serious I am about it. Let me take something I said last week, something that happened today, and bridge them together. I said to you last week, people do not do anything to you. People do not say anything to you. They just do things and they say things. And the beauty of me sharing that with you is it allows you to take yourself off the hook to be bothered by other people. There's a universal principle called the law of allowing. And the law of allowing means that you, in order to stay balanced, in order to stay connected, in order to stay aligned with God, in order to be in the right mindset for trading, you need to have a situation where you don't let other people affect how you feel. There's an African proverb that says, he who angers you conquers you. So I made that point last week. People don't do things to you, they just do things. People don't say things to you, they just say things. But the moment you take it personal, you've given them power. Now watch this. Here's an example snatched from the headlines of my life. 3 daughters. 3 daughters that I am very happily, intensely, and passionately and anticipatorily bringing to the event on Saturday, December 7th. Because it is time for my teenage girls to sit at the feet of great women like we have in our business team and be able to see and hear and feel what it's like to be a successful woman and to take control and ownership for your present and your future. My babies need to be in that environment, so they will be there. Now, watch this. The youngest one is starting dual enrollment, which if you are not aware, or to make you aware, see what I did there? I changed you're not aware to let me make you aware. Let me say it again. I changed if you're not aware to let me make you aware. How many areas in your life are you thinking about what something is not, when all you have to do is change it to what you want? So just like I just changed it to what I want so the energy of my story is better, my youngest daughter had to take a test in order to be ready or approved to take dual enrollment. So I took her to the test. And she recently had, she lost her billfold, so she didn't have a physical ID, but she had a picture of the ID. So I said, make sure you have your picture of your ID, and she had it. So we get to the testing center, and I say, my daughter has a picture of her ID. We've got all of our paperwork in order. I've paid the fee. We're ready for her to take her exam. So the lady who was, in an administrative position, or who was dealing with her in a, administrative assistant type scenario, she was very nice, very sweet. But the manager came out, and she was the opposite. She had a little attitude. She was kind of looking at my daughter some kind of way. And she said, no, you have to have a physical ID in order to take an exam. It is a federal rule. You're going to have to go to the bookstore and you're going to have to get an ID. So I said, well, ma'am, I have a small amount of time. So I was wondering if she's just here to take the test. This is really our 3rd time here. You guys closed before, we got here before. Can we please make an exception and allow her to take the exam? Well, it's a federal law and I'm not going to do a federal law. So then as I continued to talk to her, she said, wait a minute, why are you talking anyway? And then she said to my daughter, you don't know how to talk for yourself? And my daughter, that's the wrong way to say that too. She was like, yes, I do, ma'am, but you did not address me in any way. So as we continued with this get back and forth, we went to the bookstore. It didn't work. We came back. So we came back and I explained to her they would not allow her to get a card because she's not registered yet. You have to take the test to be registered. So she has her picture of her ID. Can she please take the exam? So the administrative lady began putting stuff in the computer and saying, we're going to work this out for you. I said, thank you so much. Other lady was looking like this. So when we finished and my daughter was on her way to go and take the exam, she said this, the manager said this. Honey, if you have to retest again, then make sure you bring your physical ID. What? Did you just put in the atmosphere that my daughter could fail the test? Did you just energetically say to her right before she takes the test, if you don't pass the test? That's like a coach saying to the team right before kickoff, well, what if we lose? Well, if we lose, we're going to do this. Now, I am certain, be your own bankers, that that lady was like that yesterday. I am certain, be your own bankers, that she will be like that tomorrow. I'm sure she didn't just learn how to do her neck like that right in that moment. I'm sure she's done it before. But guess what Dr. B did? Guess what the finance doctor did? He totally violated all the things that he told you last week. Because I took that thing personal. So I love stories like this. Because if I can share with you that we're all human and we all put ourselves in a position where we have to recognize that we want to put ourselves in the best position to have the mindset to be successful, I think it's better. So now you know I'm not talking at you. I'm talking with you because I experienced the same thing. Now let me close with this. As I was thinking about that event all day, that's your mistake right there. How long did I keep that on my microscope? As I thought about the event all day, I started reminiscing about my daughter, and I started thinking about the Henry Ford quote I gave you, whether you believe you can or can't, you will be right. And one of the things that I have said at certain points in this call is this. My 3 daughters are not allowed to say the word can't. They've never been since they were born. That has been a rule since the very beginning. You don't say can't. And my reason for coming up with that rule is that I thought that if that word was removed from their nomenclature, it would increase the chance of them to be able to find other ways to express themselves in yes energy rather than no energy. So that 14-year-old who almost had me fight a woman today, when she was two, I remember this like it was yesterday. She was sitting in a car seat. And I'm very big on making my children be independent. So she was strapping herself up. So I'm looking at her in the rearview mirror and she was trying to strap herself up, but it wasn't reaching. So the baby, 2 years old now, she said this, Daddy, and she caught herself in mid-sentence and we all knew she was about to say the C word. Daddy, and then she changed it to, will you help me put this seatbelt on? So in that moment, a 2-year-old was able to recognize that if you put what you can't do on your microscope, then that's what's going to be there when you write the lab results. But if you instead decide to seek help, to come to a training call, to utilize the I Am Academy, to watch the next video, to come to Tuesday and Thursday Power Pack nights, to perfect your skill, to do your demo account. If you decide to walk in that energy, we can borrow this concept from the 2-year-old and recognize that if we walk in our can, if we walk in our I am, if we are deliberate about what we put on our microscope, we're in the right mindset to take advantage of this $6.6 trillion a day industry. We're in the right mindset to touch 1 million families by March 2021. So my message to you tonight is simple. Focus on what you can do. Focus on what you're putting on the other side of the I am. I am hungry, I am tired, I am frustrated, I am angry. I am a master trader, and all of my trades end in profit. Thank you very much for your attention this evening. This has been a Talk with the Finance Doctor. I will now turn this call back over to our host and/or hostess.